blame my cat for another's bad behavior. I'll put out the wrong bins on bin day. So I've got a couple of neighbors to my left that are amazing and I get along with quite well. I water their garden when they're away, they feed my cat when I'm away. We regularly catch up for coffee. Australia is doing pretty well with COVID at the moment and we socially distance when we do it outside on their balcony. My neighbors to the right however are rude and loud. They slam doors and swear all day long and only settle down on a random blissful day that never seems to happen. When I first moved in I took a bunch of herbs and vegetables from garden to give to them, say hello and introduce myself. The lady saw me approaching from her balcony and asked what I wanted. I told her I live next door and what I had with me. She just said no thanks, now goodbye now. I just replied, okay goodbye and left it at that. I decided I wouldn't bother them since it's fair enough they don't want anything to do with me. Now my cat is an indoor cat. I take him outside every day for a half hour on a cat harness/leash so he gets some sun time and outdoor play. He is a ginger cat and he has never gone outside without me. Now there's another ginger cat that gets around that a few of my neighbors complain digs and scratches in their backyards and chases the birds. The neighbors to my left know it's not my cat because my cat only goes outside with me. The rude neighbors saw me outside with my cat one day and started yelling at me that I needed to stop letting my cat mess with their garden and ruin things there. I tried explaining that it wasn't my cat because he's indoors all the time but they weren't having any of it and threatened to hurt my cat if they ever saw him in their backyard. Now in Australia where I am we have rotating bin weeks. Week 1 will be for rubbish, week 2 will be for garden waste and recycling. These neighbors frequently forgot and would only put them out once I'd put out my bins to which I'm guessing they used as a reminder to which bin they needed to put out. Because they threatened my cat I put out the recycling and garden bins and they copied what I did. I waited for the trucks to enter my street and quickly swapped the bins to the correct one for rubbish week. They left their recycling and garden waste bins out which didn't get picked up. I left them enjoying another 2 weeks of filthy bins until the next rubbish pickup. How I made Aunt Karen feel horrible about herself. So this was back about a year ago when I worked in the restaurant business. I was a hostess, and often we'd get people who were mad about call-ahead seating. It is not a reservation. It's a way for you to be more ahead on a waiting list if you called in advance. So I'd often get people who were angry about having to wait even though they made a reservation. Well, I had a Karen once come in with I'm assuming her husband. Now she had a bit longer hair than the normal haircut, but was extremely overweight and just an overall rude person. At this restaurant we have 2-person booths and 4-person booths. I'd often try to accommodate to people a bit larger by sitting them in a 4-person booth. Well, one night, we're extremely busy, 2-page waiting list. Karen comes in about 30 minutes after her call ahead was listed, still she's now around the middle part of the list. I sit a few tables before her when she comes up to me complaining we have a reservation. Why is it taking so long? This is ridiculous. I explain to her that it's a call ahead and she's more ahead on the list than people who came in before her. She goes back and sits down and about 15 minutes later she comes up again. She's more angry and I explain it'll only be about 15 more minutes. She's getting really angry, saying I told you. We should have went to other restaurant nearby. At this point I'm tired, I've worked 10 hours and honestly I felt like if I'm gonna be at this job I should have at least one story to take with me when I leave. So, I see a 2-person booth has opened up. I explain, Mom, we have a 2-person booth that just opened up, I'd be happy to sit you there if that's okay. She just smiles that smug grin, so I feel a little better about doing this. I take her to an open part of the restaurant, in view of most people there, and just sit back to watch before placing their menus down. She frowns a little bit, but I guess she wanted to prove something. She gets about halfway in the booth before her stomach rams up against the table, bolted to the floor. She grunts and groans and finally gets in with about 1/3 of her leg hanging out and her stomach a bit on the table. I see a few people around watching in I'm assuming amusement or horror. Her husband then asks if they can get another table. Karen says nothing. I tell her husband sure and I'm sorry this one didn't work. To be fair, he was nice the whole time and just had his head down while waiting. Poor guy. So I bring them back to the lounge to wait and she doesn't say a word until I finally call her for a 4-person booth. This is probably one of the meanest things I've done in life, but hey, it's hard to get some petty revenge just being the hostess. Thanks for reading. Be a jerk? No training then. I work in a head office of a family-run essential business that has 10 satellite locations. Most of the managers at those locations are fine. The fellow who runs the storefront attached to the office is a real peach though, so will be referred to as such. He comes into my office all the time to complain about every little thing from his staff not working to how we aren't processing his requests for inventory fast enough. Our DM hates his guts because his staff have to be rotated out on a weekly basis because they just don't want to work with him, as he constantly berates everyone and no mistake is ever his fault. It's gotten so bad that other staff refuse to be rotated to the head office storefront. Peach also loves to come into my office strutting about like he owns the place and stealing things off of our desks when we're not looking or away. Nothing major, just pens and supplies, but it's annoying as hell. I do suspect him of stealing lunches, but I can't really prove it. He's also disorganized as hell and makes our job harder. His invoices are a mess and he doesn't properly account for his inventory or expenses. And we have to put up with it because he turns up the charm with the owners, a really nice couple, and is the top sales guy in the company, hence his posting here. So now to my petty revenge. It is an ongoing situation. Our software provider is going to roll out a new version of our invoicing software. Functionally it is the same, but visually it's like night and day, and a lot of the old menus have been slimmed down or moved around. It's my responsibility to do teleconferences with the staff at our locations and illustrate to them the differences and conduct training as best as I am able given the circumstances. And we'll be rolling out the new version this coming Monday, as our provider will be ceasing support for all previous versions. I showed the cashier just fine. Peach refuses to learn. I told him that it would be to his benefit to learn now as support was ceasing. He didn't care. I told him that the new version would be rolling out very soon and the DM needed everyone to be on the same page and using the new software. Also didn't care. And then he told me he would continue using the old version. He's the type that just does what he wants. In my final Zoom meeting with the owners and the software people today, I reported that the new version is good and that most of the staff were taking to it well. But if our provider were ceasing support for the old version, there would be no need to keep it installed at the storefront, surely? Everyone agreed. So at week's end the plug is going to be pulled on it at the store level. The upper management and owners support this fully for the sake of efficiency, and the software company thinks it's great to pull the band-aid off quickly, so to speak, and I guess this saves them resources too. Peach's cashier is aware and she is eagerly awaiting the SHT fit on Monday. Block my car in a handicapped spot. Now you can't leave. I was reading through the comments of another post I made in another sub and it reminded me of this story that happens to my mom. Several years ago my mom had to have knee surgery, leading her to be in crutches with limited mobility for several months. She was granted an accessible parking permit. My mom went to the market to do her shopping and used the spot. She wouldn't normally even use it, but it was the dead of winter and super icy out. When she was coming out, there's a car with no sticker on it and this young kid getting out of his car parked right close to her car, making it impossible to get into unless she climbed over the passenger side. She was polite to the kid who had just left his car. She said it was an older Toyota. She said, "Can you love your car so I can get it?" The kid flat out said, "No, I am just going in shopping, I don't have the time," and started to go in, and she said, "I can't get in my car," to which she was let with a bad and took off. I didn't mention, but it was like -40 out at the time. Well, this really pissed my mom off. She grabbed the bottle of water in her basket and took her key to push open the lock hatch on each door and poured a healthy amount of water in each lock, got herself into her passenger's side door, forced her way to her driver's seat and left parked on a different spot and waited. The guy tried from open his car, but you guessed it, each lock was frozen. She watched him struggle for 10 minutes and left with a smile on her face. My mom is kinda evil. Edit, yes I know I can't spell English is my second language.